Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and iOS 13.4 Beta 3 has been out for a few days, and I have it installed on a couple of different devices here. I have it on my iPhone 11 Pro Max, which is my main device, and I also have it on an iPhone 8 Plus. So I wanted to talk about the experience I've had with it, your experience based off the YouTube community poll, and then we'll take a look at some of your comments as well. Now, there's one thing that I found afterwards, or that was at least mentioned to me afterwards, of the new features and things in Beta 3, and that's if we go into Photos, down here at the bottom, you can now slide between days, years, months, and all photos. So you can just slide between them now as opposed to just tapping on them. So it's nothing really that big, but it's something to mention, something that's new, and I guess it just enhances the overall experience. Now, as far as one thing I noticed right away as soon as I updated this is my notifications started to show up properly. In fact, Slack notifications I didn't really notice weren't coming in, but then people were messaging me on there and saying, why aren't you responding, or I wasn't seeing them, and after I updated the Beta 3, they started to pop up finally. So it looks like my notifications are working properly again, and I know some people were having issues with that, and myself included, of course, and it seems like it's working fine now. Now, Apple Mail has still been giving me odd little bugs. Now, it's been working fine except for one thing this time, but just throughout iOS 13, it's been really buggy, and Mail this time, you'll see it has a 1 because I have one new email. If I go into Mail, you'll see I do have an email. Now, if I open that mail and actually read it, sometimes, even though it's read, it will show up as unread in my filtered unread messages. That's that little button there. So sometimes it just shows up, even if I have 4 messages that have been read, it will say that there's 4 messages or show me 4 messages there that are actually read, but it's saying that they're unread. So it's really strange. I don't know what these bugs are, and I'm not sure why Mail isn't working properly, but people at Apple must notice there's issues here and there. Now, as far as my experience, that's really been it. I did have a couple hiccups here and there. If you do go into General and tap on About, there will be a delay. That's on all devices, so that's just a little bug I'm sure Apple's aware of. But other than that, I've had no other issues. And performance for me has been great. I've had no slowdowns, no stutters, no problems going into different apps. This one's reloading for some reason, but no problems going into different apps. And in general, RAM management has been good, other than what you just saw there. So going into something like YouTube, that's been open for 30 minutes without me going into it, and the community poll is there. So we'll look at that in a moment. But in general, the performance and overall use of this has been great for me. Now, battery on it has also been pretty good for me. So we'll go down to battery here, and I'm just going to turn off dark mode so you'll see less reflections on the display. But in general, I use dark mode at night. I use light mode during the day. So if we go over the last 10 days, you'll see this is my usage yesterday. Saturdays, when I was using this, are less use usually, so you'll see throughout the week it varies greatly, but I am using other devices as well. But I had 2 hours and 27 minutes of screen on time, 2 hours and 51 minutes of screen off time. That's playing music in the background with the display off. You could be using AirPods or anything really. And this time I did not get great battery life. I used almost 50% of my battery life, but I was playing music, so 5.5 hours of use, but only 2.5 hours of screen on time. But most of you said that it has great battery life, or the same as Beta 2. Now, out of 20 people that said that they had issues or at least mentioned battery, 17 of them said that they had great battery or the same battery. Only 3 people said it wasn't that great. So I'd say that's a pretty good record as far as battery is concerned. So that's a good sign. Now, it's still a beta, so expect it not to be as great as when it's finally released. Now, as far as all the stats of different issues mentioned, you can see them here. Battery was 20, RAM management was 4, and most people said RAM management was fine. Only a couple said it wasn't. And then also, as far as Mail, people continue to have issues with Mail, like I mentioned. So I've been looking at alternative Mail applications. I'm really careful about the privacy, and so I've been looking at Spark. They say they don't sell any information, but I'm looking more into those, and maybe I'll do a video on Mail after I've done some more research, so maybe I'll check that out later on. Now, as far as issues you've been having other than that, a couple people said messaging was locking up. So messaging, they'd go into it and it would lock up initially, freeze for a few seconds when it was first opened, and then it would work. So people are having that issue. Also, the triple tap on VoiceOver, if you're using VoiceOver, wasn't working properly. And then also the reason I have my 8 Plus here is I continue to have issues. Well, most people continue to have issues with rotation. Now, if you have a Plus phone, it has to be a 6S Plus, a 7 Plus, an 8 Plus. You can rotate to landscape or portrait on the home screen. A lot of people are having rotation issues, not only on the home screen, but also photos and things like that. I've noticed some weird rotation bugs on my iPad Pro as well. So there's something in this version. So of course, if you're having these issues, report them in feedback. You want to report them in the feedback app, and then Apple will prioritize those and fix those. The only other couple of issues that people mentioned is Bluetooth cutting out when they're in music, and then also app crashes for some people. Now, I haven't had any app crashes, but some people are having apps crash, banking apps, things like that. But this is very specific to apps and could be an issue with that app specifically. So it's hard to say what's actually causing it. But in general, this has been an okay update. Again, it's a beta, and so I'd expect some more versions. I'll talk about that towards the end of the video, but let's take a look at the YouTube community poll. Now, if you've been following me for any amount of time, you know that I run these polls with every new update. And I've had some people say, why do you keep posting the same polls over and over? But they're specific for every specific update. It's not the same poll every time. So in this one, 15% said it was great, which is pretty good. Only 2% said it was terrible. 6% said okay, but some bugs. So these are pretty low right now. 63% of you are on iOS 13.3.1 or older, so public versions, and then 14% of you are on Android. That number actually went down this time as compared to last time. Now, there were about 6,500 votes or 6,500 votes and 108 comments, and that's where I've got all the issues I mentioned before from. So I've read every one of those comments, so let's sort them and take a look at some of them. Now, I expect a lot of people are not upgrading to this beta because they either just want a more stable version that's released to the public, or they're using jailbreaks or something like that. So I assume that's why there's so many people on the previous version and not as many converting to the betas this time. Now, we'll take a look at a couple of them, and here's one I mentioned earlier, using VoiceOver. Buttons on Control Center not working. VoiceOver triple tap command, too long press not working. iPhone 7 Plus, everything is great except for the rotation bug. No bugs so far, everything running as it should. iPhone 8 Plus. The only bugs I've noticed is that Messages application locks up and freezes on me at times. It takes a couple of seconds and then it works like normal. The About tab in Settings has a delay before it goes into the About section. Other than that, performance and battery are great. iPhone 11 Pro Max. For some reason, I'm having major issues with my Apple Watch and iPhone XS Max. I'm not getting any notifications pushed to my watch. If you're on the beta, that could be an issue with the beta itself, or it could be an issue with whatever's running on the watch. It's hard to say, but try just rebooting the phone and seeing if that helps. No issues on my iPhone 6S. Battery life is average. iPhone 7 here lost my 4G LTE option in settings, and the cellular service keeps dropping. My 6S is doing good. Right after the update, a couple glitches in the home screen and an app. I did another shutdown and restarted, and that took care of the issue. Running great on my iPhone 11, fast and smooth, battery good, not noticing any of the previous bugs. I did have an issue with the banking app, but I know that's a specific app issue, which is understandable with betas. So overall great, almost forgot it was a beta version. It seems not too bad on my iPhone XS, but only the Twitter app lags much more than usual for me. On iPhone X, and no issues with 2 days, and battery life has been improved for me in this build. Good. It's pretty stable. Battery life is not that good. RAM management is excellent. Auto rotation problem has been fixed. iPhone 7 Plus user. So again, some people are seeing that rotation bug and others aren't. I'm not sure why. Running on my iPhone 8 Plus, it solved the connectivity, both Wi-Fi and Bluetooth issues I was experiencing with the last beta. Running on my 2014 iPad Pro, no issues, running great. Battery and performance is great, 4 hours screen on, uses 36% of my battery on iPhone 11, but mail is still having issues. Sometimes mails are not loading, and I have to go to the mailbox overview and back into the mailbox to trigger the loading. Sometimes the mail app is black in the app switcher. I'm sick of the bugs in mail, but I can't switch to another app because of security concerns. Every good app needs full access to mailbox for push notifications. That's a point that he doesn't like that on iOS, and it needs to be updated. And hopefully we see some different options with that, or Apple really fixes mail in general. The best beta versions so far, I still have problems connecting with VPN services from time to time, although it's not as bad as it was with previous beta versions. Great on my iPhone 8, all crashing and bugs fixed for me. On my iPhone 11 Pro has been very smooth and fast on 13.4. Working great on my iPhone 8, first time in the beta program. Beta 3 has been working fine on iPhone SE, but the issue with the stuttering before going into the About page in settings is there. And like I said earlier, that's there with every single phone. So I'm not sure what that is, but Apple's tweaking something in the background. Had ridiculous battery drain on Beta 1, down to 30% in 3 hours, but Beta 3 has been running perfectly so far on iPhone 11 Pro Max. It was a bit glitchy for me on my iPhone 8, had to restart the phone 2 times. We'll take a look at maybe a couple more here. 2019 iPhone Pro, intermittent crashing and freezing, iMessage freezing. 2019 Apple Watch 5, issues with the screen not waking during running exercise. iPhone SE, this beta is better for me as compared to beta 1 and 2. Battery timing is also good, and RAM management is also good. No other major bugs. Not sure about the stock mail app because I'm not using it. And thanks for watching my videos. And then it says, correction to my previous comment, my iPad Pro just started freezing. Literally could not leave the home screen. My mouse keeps disconnecting whenever the screen goes to sleep. This was after a restart. So it can be a little bit buggy. Sometimes I have to restart. I really haven't had to do it with this beta, but sometimes you do need to do that. And then the final one, stable version for me, thinking battery life has improved a small bit. And so that is it for iOS 13.4 Beta 3. Now, based on what Apple has been doing lately, I would expect a new beta this coming Wednesday if they continue with releasing it on a weekly schedule. They've been releasing them on Wednesdays, so it's possible Monday or Tuesday, but more likely Wednesday. And then a final release by the end of the month. We're still a little ways away, I think, from the final based on this, and by the final version of this, we may have new emoji as well, so it's really hard to say. And like I've said before, I wouldn't really expect any new major features until June, where we would expect WWDC, or the Worldwide Developer Conference. That's where Apple usually shows iOS 14, the new features, releases the betas, and then releases a final version by September. And then, of course, if there's a March event, we may see iPhone 9 or iPhone SE2. It's probably going to be called iPhone 9, and then maybe some new iPads and things like that. So look for that, and I'll be, of course, doing videos on those if those do come out. Now, if you participated in the poll, thanks again for doing that. I really appreciate it. And if you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, I'll link it in the description, as I always do. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.